I want to respect all protocol and to thank you, colleagues and friends, for coming to this official opening. My remarks are are not that long. I want to thank very much the European Union and CBM for supporting us first and believing that we can do it. I think that in the countries that you saw in that video clip, there are persons with disabilities at various levels of developing their plans. I think we need to give ourselves a very big round of applause because Lesotho was not only the first ambassadorial country, but it is also the leading country when it comes to developing these plans. Let's give ourselves a big round of applause. The plan answers many questions, and I think one of the key questions that it answers, and I want our partners to particularly listen to this point. Very often we find people saying, look, there is no collaboration between government and civil society organizations. But we are saying here is an example of partnerships and cooperation between government and civil society organizations in the disability sector. And I think that is to be applauded. And of particular importance is the leadership role that was played by government throughout this process. I recall, Mayor Director, that when you were preparing for the round table, you had a working group that was comprised of all government ministries. And one of the values that prevailed in that working group, which I remember very well, was the commitment to quality. We had to send away bags and documents back to their suppliers because we were not happy with the quality. And this commitment to quality was an outstanding measure of your understanding of the fact that the needs of persons with disabilities should not be just add-ons, but that we should try to make sure that there is quality in the work that we do. As the Honorable Minister mentioned in his speech, we have an agreement with the government of Lesotho that has got a duration of 10 years. During these 10 years, we pledge our support, our skills, any access to resources that we might get in order to make sure that the objectives of this plan are realized. And in addition, we will refer any forms of support. I understand, just speaking from His Excellency, the representative of the Japanese government and, of the Chinese government, and I know my colleagues from JICA, that we have been working with not only in countries that are within Southern Africa. You may know that my friend there was actually in Rwanda at one point. That is where he used to work. They are not new to the disability field. I want to call on them to now say, here is the document that we have been waiting for. And we, as the director said, we will be adding on new items, new challenges that will arise as we go on. Just now, we have just had the UN pass the Sustainable Development Goals, which all of them, all the 17 goals, not just those that refer to disability, but all the 17 goals must be made to benefit persons with disabilities in Lesotho. So we want to welcome our partners and say, now is the time to come on board so that you can make our dream succeed, and the dream of a country where we can demonstrate good practice in the improvement of the lives of persons with disabilities. The startup proposals have already been made, and I want to make a special appeal to the Ministry of Finance. The way it works is like this. Once a strategy like this is developed, then government has got a way in which it cooperates with international development partners. I was recently at the World Bank in Washington, and I met a lot of our good friends there. Some of you might know our good friend, Advocate Charlotte McLean Hlapo, who used to work for the Human Rights Commission in South Africa, and then she went on to work for USAID in Washington, and now she is with the World Bank. And her advice was, if now that you have reached where you are with a concrete plan on the table, you now need to work with the Ministry of Finance to ensure that this plan is presented to the World Bank because it has to come from government. And then once it is presented to the Office of the World Bank here in Lesotho, I think your offices may well be in Lesotho or in Pretoria, I'm not sure. Then we submit that to the offices of the World Bank and then also inform them at the World Bank that policy has now been submitted and that all parties should now come and support it. The World Bank has different pockets of assistance. It's not just what you know about the loans that are given to government. They also have a few pockets of trust funds as well. And incidentally, the government of Japan has got a very huge stake in some of the trust funds that are managed by the World Bank. So therefore, let's work together on this. And my appeal, Director, is to the Ministry of Finance now, because we now need the ministry's support and leadership in order to ensure that we attract as much support as we can from development cooperation partners. I want to say that we will continue to provide technical support as ADA. As always, we are available. I know that there may be anxiety that our program is coming to an end in December this year, but our program, our support to Lesotho and to the government of Lesotho and to the organizations here will continue beyond the end of the program. And we hope that we might be able to attract new funding that will enable us to continue. I want to complete by thanking Mayor Palesa Mpohle. I think you need to stand up, Mayor, so that they can see you and appreciate the services. Let's give her a round of applause. Mayor Palesa works with a team of very dedicated people that have seen everything that we need to see in the 6 countries that they work in. And they have worked through difficult political environments where sometimes there are changes in governments and where sometimes there are elections, where sometimes once a government has changed, you have to start all over again. But we are happy to see that in Lesotho, despite the change of government, there has been a continuation of goodwill and high political support for disability work. We thank you and we appreciate the work that you do with your team. I want to stop here, Program Director, and thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. And we hope that you will cherish the energy that that trophy brings and the certificate that we also gave to the government of Lesotho. Thank you very much.
We are going to have a statement then by the EU delegation.
As the EU, we are currently supporting a few projects of LNFOD. I'll mention 2. One of them is COPDEM. Through the COPDEM, that's where the disability mainstreaming plan was developed. We are also supporting one of the projects under LNFOD where they are advocating and promoting access to services for persons with disability. This is the support, I think, if I'm correct, started in 2013, and we are now in the final year of the project. And it is working or being implemented in 4 districts, if I'm correct. That is Berea, Maseru, Mohalishoek, and Butabuti. And they're working in several councils within those districts. Within the project that we are supporting, the one that I've just mentioned, we are really, or LNFOD is really doing a lot of advocacy work. And as the EU, we are really honored to be supporting that project. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that the EU is very committed to supporting civil society in Lesotho. Last year, around June, July, the EU developed what we call the EU Roadmap on Engagement of the Civil Society. That is a document more like the disability mainstreaming plan. When the document was developed, it was a very highly consultative process where we got the views of civil society on how they would like to be or to cooperate with the EU. And LNFOD was one of the key stakeholders when developing such a plan. And I must say, when we were developing that plan, although it was highly consultative, we were much guided by the questions which were asked by a questionnaire that we had developed. So when the document was developed, the civil society focused more on the questions that were asked rather than responding to their own needs, which were beyond the questions. And currently, as a EU, we are in the process of updating the document because we have realized that it has left so many areas which are key to civil society organizations. And we are hoping to finalize the process of updating the document by December. And I think the disability mainstreaming plan is coming at an opportune time when we are now updating the plan. We'll still continue consulting LNFOD when we update the roadmap so that their issues can now be incorporated fully into the roadmap. The roadmap has a few focus areas on how the EU would like to engage with the civil society. One of them, which is key to disability, is the issue of capacity building. That document wants to respond or to answer how the civil society in Lesotho would like to be capacitated. Beyond financial support, of course, civil society in Lesotho need financial support, but beyond financial support, I think civil society have other areas where they would like their capacity to be developed. Financial support is one of them, and recently we launched a call for proposal on human rights, where we are trying to respond to that. And then dialogue with civil society. Dialogue is very important, ladies and gentlemen. I was a bit disappointed when coming to this meeting this morning, and I saw that there were a few people in this room. I know that disability is one of those issues which are not in fashion, but disability has to be in fashion because now disability deals with human rights. So I would like you, when going back to your colleagues and counterparts, to call on them to support disability. I hope that, ladies and gentlemen, this document will be put to use, and particularly within the Ministry of Social Development. I want to call on the Ministry of Social Development to lead by example. If you have developed such a good document to mainstream disability, it has to start in your house. I didn't see today other directors within the Ministry of Social Development. I know there are several directors or several departments within the Ministry of Social Development. Where is somebody who is representing the issues of children? Where is somebody who is representing the issues of elders within social development? It has to start within your house as social development. Make sure you mainstream disability within the ministry, then you can take the disability mainstreaming to other ministries and other development partners. But having said all that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the ministry and LNFOD for taking up this task, which I understand it was a very difficult task, and coming up with this document. One of my questions earlier on was whether there will be a midterm evaluation of this plan. I think there needs to be an evaluation, even if it's not a midterm, 2-3 years down the line, just to check on the progress made within the plan, whether it is a working document, is a document that people find easily to work with. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all that I've said.
Now we are going to have a presentation by Japan International Cooperation Agent.
This is my great honor to be here today, to be invited for this historical event for the launch for the Disability Mainstreaming Plan. JICA has been working for the disability field for quite many years, but especially in Asia countries. But since I think 2002, JICA started to move into African continent. And as Mr. A.K. Dube mentioned, I was dispatched in Rwanda as the first JICA expert to conduct the disability project. And now JICA dispatched me again to South Africa 3 years ago. And we have been doing the activities for disability mainstreaming together with the South African government especially. However, we have, of course, the cooperation with other neighboring countries like Lesotho, Swaziland, Namibia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe so far. JICA has a scheme to provide the trainings for African officials and people with disabilities in Japan. And here I have a list of the participants who participated in those trainings in Japan. And I have talked to some of them. And as a JICA, we will be following up those participants, and hopefully we can work together, utilizing the learnings from Japan. And as many people mentioned, I believe that I also think that this kind of opportunity for civil societies and the government working together and celebrating this big moment together. So I always think that the participation of the people with disability is quite important, not only for disability mainstreaming, but also empowerment of persons with disabilities. And I was actually surprised to see people from various ministries here. To be honest, I haven't seen so many cases like this in other countries. So this is a big step, I think, and there's a prosperity. And as I said, the regional network, that is a kind of key. I mean, that is a focus area for JICA, especially in the Southern African region. And for example, together with African Disability Alliance and other organizations like SAFOT, and hopefully working together with AU in the future. As a JICA, we'd like to have more networks, especially in Southern African region. JICA has been discussing with Department of Social Development in South Africa to extend our project for disability mainstreaming and also empowerment of people with disabilities. And our focus, maybe in the first or second or third year, will be maybe South Africa, but concurrently, we would like to invite the people from other countries like Lesotho. So I really would like to have more partnership with the officials in Lesotho, and especially also the people from civil society, including people with disabilities. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and on behalf of JICA, I would like to say thank you very much again for inviting me for this kind of historical event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dadi from JICA. I would like to call upon LNFOD Executive Director to come up the stage. That is food.
Disability moved from being a social welfare issue to a development issue. This simply means that disability should be addressed through development of disability inclusive laws, policies, programs, and services. Most importantly, persons with disabilities must be part of the inclusive and accessible design, planning, monitoring, and implementation and evaluation of the government programs through their representative organizations. The government of Lesotho has played a major role in terms of making sure that persons with disabilities participate in the development of this plan, so that their rights and needs, so that the needs and rights of persons with disabilities could be incorporated into the